Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's been a while, but we are at Tech Lab number 5. No, number 6. Last one was number 5. It's been like 2 months. I'm your host, Zhang, the, of course, namesake for the channel, along with my co-host with the most, as always, Dan, aka Premium Juice, aka John Kazama, or whatever. So in addition to saying
Motherfucker.
hello, I guess I should ask, what are you entering Evo as? What's your handle? Is it Pretty Juice?
Probably Pretty Juice, yeah.
Probably. Didn't you sign up already?
Yes, but I don't remember. That was months ago.
Well, you probably have to look that up, otherwise you won't know when
Right.
your matches are. But
Well, whoever gets disqualified, that was me.
whoever gets DQ'd, did you
Yeah.
buy your tickets and everything? Yet?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
You're
Got my tickets. We do still need to get the kid entered.
where are you staying?
Venetian?
Venetian. Nice. Where is Evo this year? Is it still at the uh
Convention Center, I believe.
but not at the Venetian, right? Or is it?
No, no, I don't think so. It's close to there.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. Las Vegas Convention Center is, I think, what it's called.
Yeah, but I think it's attached to one of the hotels.
Oh, my fault.
Where does it say? Where is it? Discounted rooms available at Westgate Resort. Oh, they must have done some shuffling since the last time I've been there because I haven't even heard of this. The Fontainebleau Las Vegas
Oh, snap.
hotels. I don't even know what that is. That looks like a brand new building.
Fontainebleau.
Yeah, oh man, the picture that they have of it is crap, so I can't even really tell where on the strip this thing is. Hold on. I'm gonna look this up so everybody else. So you guys are listening to us some live stuff. So it's apparently okay. Where is some stuff that I actually know? Geez, they must have done some shuffling around. Okay, there's. Oh, so you're okay. So you're at the Venetian. Here's the. Oh wow. Oh, so they're at the North Strip. Interesting. Okay, because yeah, they're not. Because I guess for anyone who maybe this will make sense for anybody who's been to Vegas, but you have like I think the primo corner that everybody thinks about when they think about Vegas is that corner with the MGM, and then across from it you have New York, and then across from that you have Excalibur, and then as you keep going north, that's when you start running into Bellagio, Paris, all that stuff. And normally, sort of like the end of the strip, at least once upon a time, was that corner where Caesar's Palace was, or is, I
Yeah.
should say. And then if you keep going north, so just like, half a block north from that would be where the Venetian is. So that's where you guys are. And then across from the Venetian is the Mirage. And then just a little bit north of that is Treasure Island. But if you keep going north, yeah, I guess they must like stuff keeps popping up or something because like Circus I guess is right next to this place where they're doing Evo, but as far as I've known, like Circus is basically like the end like of the strip, and you can keep going north because they have like what the Stratosphere Hotel, whatever that one is, that's kind of north of everything. And I don't really think that that's considered part of the strip, but maybe it is. But that's that's interesting. So they have, I guess they're just the strip keeps expanding north, and that's where it is.
That makes sense too.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there. So yeah, I guess the good news for you is that those huge intersections like with Caesars, where Caesars and the Flamingo and all that, like you're north of that, because that I think is like the busiest most pain in the ass intersection to get across. I think I'm trying to remember. Pretty sure there's probably an overpass from Caesars to Bellagio, but that intersection sucks. But you're north of that, so if you were, I would assume that they've built sidewalks and stuff, because I do remember one time that we walked north. And we just kept walking because we were going to walk to the Stratosphere Hotel. I don't think we ever actually made it. I think as far as we got was Circus Circus, because at the time when you got to around Circus Circus, Circus Circus is definitely not a high-end hotel. And the time that we were doing it, when you start to walk around that area, that's when things start to sort of space out, and all of a sudden you're seeing some empty lots and stuff. So we're like, I don't really want to walk another 4 blocks to the Stratosphere, because it looks like things are ending about here. But the good news though is that you should be able to make that walk to Evo back to the Venetian. It shouldn't be that bad. It looks like it's maybe half mile, something like that. So it's not too bad. I mean, it's a little bit of a walk, but you guys are healthy.
I'm old.
You'll be all right.
I don't want to.
You don't want to? No. Oh, no. Okay.
No, half mile's fine.
Oh.
But I'm old. I don't want to be walking all up and down the strip.
Well, yeah, I certainly wouldn't. I'm done doing that. I have walked from the south end to the strip all the way to the north end to the strip and back in younger years, and I will not be doing that again. So I've done it, and I can say I've done it, and I can also say I'll never do it again. But as far as for why you are there, that's not too bad of a walk. So you should, and yeah, like I said, I assume that they've sort of developed all that, so the sidewalks shouldn't be shit. Because that was another problem when we did that walk, or tried to walk to the Stratosphere, is that when you get that far north, then sidewalks start disappearing, and you kind of gotta hoof it through some tall grass and whatnot. So that wasn't fun, but exciting times. So I'll actually have more questions about that, because so for this episode, I guess it depends on how long it takes us to talk about event sort of stuff. But when we did the last episode, event season hadn't really gotten in full swing yet, so I want to spend some time talking about that. So I don't know how much we'll dedicate to actual Tekken talk, but before we jump into all that, the one thing that I did want to start the podcast with, since I know, and I've mentioned this before, I know kind of the hardcore fans of us and the channel tend to watch or listen to the podcasts, so this is a good place to put it, is that for the channel, things are probably, I still want to continue to make content, and I put up a little message on the channel in the community notes thing, which is dicey on YouTube. Even if YouTube shows it in your timeline, it's kind of hard to see those, so sometimes they get lost. But I did put a message saying that this was around right before Combo Breaker, that content was going to be light because we had some stuff going on, and that would probably push into June. And obviously, we're a couple weeks away from July at this point, and that's probably going to continue. And just as a background, this is another thing that I've mentioned previously, but my family and I are planning to move to Minnesota, and we'll be up there before the end of the year. But there are some steps that have to happen before we get there, and 2 things are happening right now that are really cramping me for time, which is going to affect the content that we can put up. The first is that we have to sell our house, and then we'll just end up renting for a little while until our house is done up in Minnesota. But our house is on the market right now, so I kind of have to, be available for showings. We have to keep the house clean, kind of that whole deal. And that takes up a lot of time. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is just because going forward, I want to make sure that, we're okay. We have a good cushion as far as money and stuff is concerned. I did get a second job. So that starts a week into July. But that is obviously going to, take up some of my time as well. So with the content, and the thing is, I would still like to play Tekken, obviously, and I still will play Tekken as much as I can, but particularly with content on the channel, the guides even more specifically, those take quite a while to build. Because even if I have a general idea of how a character works, I really like to dive into the move list and make sure that, the guides aren't this first wave of guides, I should say, are, more kind of beginners stuff, or, if somebody just has no idea how the character works and they want a quick overview. But I really like to be as thorough as I can and give people the highlights. And that really does require sort of a complete move list overview for me in terms of research purposes, and really understanding like what a character is trying to do from an offense perspective, and like how it's pretty easy. Like if people want, a top 5, top 10 move list for a character, there are lots of videos that are out there that are like that. But even if you have,
it's the best move ever.
right. But even if you can identify those moves, like being able to implement them, or like understand how the character is using them in the wider perspective of their gameplay and what they're trying to do, that takes some time to like sort of categorize and list all the moves and how you're supposed to use them, which is what I do when I make a script for those guides. And then once the script, that's the biggest chunk time. But then once the script is made, I have to do the recordings. And I think from the time that it's basically 2 phases. The first phase is the research phase, and then the second phase is putting all those notes into a script and then doing the recordings. And that second phase is still from start to finish probably anywhere between 4 to 6 hours of time, and which doesn't sound like a lot to people who have a lot of free time, but when you're somebody that has 2 kids and soon to be 2 jobs, as well as trying to coordinate this move that we're doing, it sucks up a lot of time. So my plan is still to work on some content. I know it's been a while. I think it's been probably like a month, if not longer, since the last video that I put up. But just don't be surprised if there are these long gaps, long periods between videos. And I was trying to put this focus on making smaller videos that are just easier to do because they're just based on some little situation or whatever. But again, I've been so busy that even though I'm sure that those things are out there, I just haven't had time to like really look at them, or pick really good little subject matters to make videos on. So I'm going to try to do that, but I know like really the big draw were the guides. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on in my life that's going to be putting content on the back burner. And believe me, I wish that the channel and everything were strong, or not strong, big enough that I could make that like my second job and whatnot, but that's just not how the world works. So I have to do real jobs and then do the fun content stuff on the side. So I wanted to bring that up now because the people who really matter, which again are the avid fans who do listen to these podcasts, I want to make sure that you guys were aware of what's going on. So that if you see big gaps, casual viewers, even if they're subscribed to the channel, probably not going to notice a month, 2-month gap, because their feeds are going to be filled up with all these other random Tekken 8 videos. So they're not going to notice that I haven't put up a video in a month or two. But people who do pay attention to the channel and do come back to it on a regular basis to see if anything is new, it might raise some eyebrows. So I want to make sure that I address that. Okay. End of podcast. Thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it. Just kidding. So like I said, I don't know how much tech and stuff we're going to be doing today, because I did want to spend some time talking about events, and we can kind of go in any order, because I do have some questions. Evo hasn't happened yet, but I do have some questions for you, Dan, about what you are seeing or what you are expecting going into that and everything. But it has been a while since we did this podcast. So since then, we have had a handful of majors, and we have the one major.
Patch.
Do what?
And one major patch.
Yeah, well, it might have been 2. I think that 1.04 came out after our last episode as well. So I think we've actually had 2 major patches since the last podcast episode. But the one major that I actually go to every year happened as well, which is Combo Breaker, which was really fun. And there's a bunch I think that we can talk to about that. I know that we're a little behind because Combo Breaker at this point is what 3-4 weeks old, so it's like old news to everybody. But it's the only tournament that I've gone to, and will go to maybe this year. So still kind of fresh in my mind. I know AK is still going strong, right? So that he's since he won Combo Breaker, he's the person that everybody's watching to see if he can continue to repeat and how far he can push all the.
I do think
regulars.
Molgold is Molgold's been rising. I think he won a couple of them in a row now.
Yeah, well, he wasn't he the one that won, the one that was immediately after Combo Breaker that everyone stayed for? What was it? Was it the Dream Hack? No, Dream Hack was happening at the same time, but there was another one, I think. Like the very next weekend after Combo Breaker, there were 2 other majors, and I know one of them was a Dream Hack, and I cannot remember what the other one was.
Is the other one BAM?
Maybe that it might have been that. Yeah, because that's the Australian one, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There were a lot less people at that one.
Yeah, because everyone was here for Combo Breaker, so they just stayed for that Dream Hack one or whatever it was. So that was also in Chicago. And so yeah, that happened. I feel like he won it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it was somebody else. It's been a while. I should look that up. But what else have we had since that? I know we've had at least one other Dream Hack. What was the one last weekend? Because that Mogold got really high in that too. I didn't catch like the top 8, but
that was a great finals too. It was against Rangchu.
Yeah. Did he win, or what did Rangchu win? I can't remember.
I believe that Rangchu almost pulled it off, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Well, I need to.
Yep.
What was the name
Honestly,
of it?
I was not fully prepared for what happened in that to report it.
That's okay. Once again we'll do some live, or not live, but we'll do some research as we record.
Finals.
Tournament overview. Nope, that's not what I want. I don't want a PDF. Tell me to schedule. Oh, and I guess I haven't been paying attention, but CEO is next weekend. That's always been a later tournament. They bumped it up.
5 days ago. That's TNS.
Sending status concluded.
Might be edited out of this. Here's a top 8 finals Dream Hack.
Okay, that's the BAM one. That's not what I want. Super tournament. That was 6-8, so that wouldn't have been last. Master Plus. Evo Japan is the only Master Plus. That's interesting. I would have figured that Combo Breaker was a Master Plus. I guess not.
Yeah, they only had just those Evos, as far as I saw.
Okay.
As Master Plus.
Standings. So the Super Tournament was the one. What Mogold won that, and Ulsan came in second. Okay, so I guess the challenger. So Dream Hack. No, that's Dallas. That's not the one I want.
I have to change this from 1 week of stuff to
Hadouken Fight Festival. I feel like that was not it, but they have it listed on here as last weekend. No, that's way too small. That's not what I wanted. I don't think it's gonna do it, because I feel like whatever happened last weekend was was not originally a TWT event. I wonder if it's one of the dojos.
A lot of different
DreamHack Summer 2024 FGC. So that's the one I'm looking for. So this was they just did this as a dojo event. This wasn't a whatever. And this one,
the Dallas one was
Ulsan was number 1, Mulgold was 2, and then Rangchu was 3. So the finals you're thinking of was probably losers finals.
Oh, okay.
And then Ulsan won it.
Yep, here's Ulsan versus Mulgold 13 days ago.
Yeah, this DreamHack one I'm pretty sure is the one that was from last week or last weekend, because it's not a challenger or master event. It was just a dojo event.
Okay.
Which is interesting to me that like the DreamHacks wouldn't be on it, because the DreamHack Dallas, that was a challenger event. So
I certainly don't pay attention to all the ranking and which tournament is which very much. I just look for good matches, but Mulgold has been on a tear.
Yeah, he's up there. He's doing pretty good.
He's using that down back both punches quite a bit.
And he was not present at Combo Breaker, so I did not get to see him play. I know is funny because my big disappointment going into Combo Breaker, or as it was going, as we were going into Combo Breaker, I was really excited because it looked like it was likely that I would get a chance. Oh man, who was it? Now I'm gonna have to pull up my ranking or my match summary, because there was a Korean player that was in my bracket, clearly the number 1 seed, and because of how everything was, it looked likely that I was going to play him. Where is my matches? And I'm trying to remember who.
That was Kakoma.
It was. Yes, you're correct. It was Kakoma. Yep. Because all I had to do was win my first 2 matches or sets, which I ended up doing. But even prior to Combo Breaker starting, when I was just kind of scoping the brackets, the people that I was playing, or could have potentially played in those first 2 sets, they didn't seem like they were dedicated Tekken players. So not to say that they were bad or anything, just that looking at their previous entries and everything, they seemed like they were more, eclectic, which a tournament like Combo Breaker is going to have a lot of those, where they enter, half a dozen tournaments. And even if they're solid at a game, chances are they're not like a tournament level skill player, which doesn't mean, I guess kind of word to the wise, does not mean that you should underestimate those kinds of players, but seemed like if I was prepared enough that I should be able to win my first 2 sets. And then the side of the bracket that I was on, Kakoma was on that other half side, or whatever you want to call it, where he had a bye first round, and then it's Kakoma, so it doesn't really matter who he's going to play the second round. Chances are he's going to win that set, and then had that happened, he would have played me. So I fulfilled my side of the bargain, and then he didn't show. He didn't show up to the tournament. So
what a jerk.
I know. So I was like, oh snap, I could have, because that actually probably would have meant more to me than what ultimately ended up happening is that I actually had a pretty decent run. I'm trying to remember. I should be able to pull it up here. I think it was like whatever the tie is. It's like 129th or whatever. So I guess as some background, Tekken 8 had the most entrants. If I can find Tekken here.
It's ever had, or Tekken.
Yeah, I think it's the highest number of entrants for any Tekken ever at any event, but it was also the highest entry count for any game at Combo Breaker. So, step over Street Fighter and everything else. It beat everything. And it had 1,631 entries. Obviously, not all those people played. Primo example would be Kakoma that we just mentioned. But of that, I don't know why it's not giving me my specific thing. Like that should just be in my profile. But I tied for 129th. So top 100, well, what would that be? It's not 129. It always gives you the high number. It's like top 200 or whatever it is. So that felt pretty good. However, I think I would trade that in for a lower position to be able to play, Kakoma. Because you just don't get those opportunities very often. Even last year, which would have still been Tekken 7, I did not get a chance to play any, well-known player in the tournament, but one of the nights, real late, I went over for casuals, and there weren't a ton of people there, and who was it? It was, oh my god, I'm blanking on his name.
This is the Remembering Stuff podcast.
I know, yeah. The Thai, I think he's Thai player who plays Jin. Oh, I can't think of his name.
Oh,
Book, yeah. So he was there, and it wasn't just me, but some of the people from our crew. Like, he was just on one of the stations, and there weren't a lot of people around, and everyone, the handful of people that were standing around that particular station were just kind of going through, and he was beating on everybody. And I got to play several matches with him, which is really fun. But it's always awesome to be able to test yourself against somebody who's that high up, like world class, someone who's literally being paid to go to these tournaments and expected to make top 8s and all that stuff. That's definitely worth more to me, like experiencing and playing against that kind of skill and talent than, just being able to say, oh, I was top 100 or something or whatever. So I guess that's the consolation prize, that I did pretty well, having not.
Did you beat Kakoma in the tournament? That's all I heard.
I actually didn't. So here's the funny part. So that guy who, the player that, would have gotten a bye because Kakoma was DQ'd, my first loss came to him. So interestingly, I ended up beating the Kakoma, or losing to the Kakoma replacement anyway, which was interesting. And it, it's one of those sets where you're like, man, this is my fault. I'm just not playing very well. And I think, here, let me pull up the guy's info. I'm pretty sure I placed higher than him.
I have
yeah, I did place higher.
I have a story too about one of these world-class players.
And
it's actually not an old one.
Oh, I was gonna say the story, or the experience for you is always going to be the JDCR set, but I'm guessing that's not what you're thinking of.
No, I'm thinking more recent. When Arslan came to Minnesota.
Oh, right, yeah, that was right for T8, yeah, or no?
Yeah, well, T7.
T7.
Yeah. The last time he came over to someone's house, and I definitely got whooped there. But I actually got to play Arslan before his Kuni was really available to the public. And at the time, I'm like, Kuni, this guy's just messing around or whatever. But I mean, he ended up taking Kuni to, the majors right after that, like a few months later, and I split games with them. So that feels good.
You mean like right before he did that? When was this? Was this a tournament, or like was this a casual?
I mean, it was like I'm gonna say like a year and a half ago now. But then he came back and he was playing with everyone. He was just doing random at one of our friends' houses, and I got obliterated by his Claudio at that point. But I did all right against that.
Yeah, because that's not the time you're thinking about, or you're sharing a different instance, right?
This is before.
So
before his Kuni came out to the public, but it wasn't all that long beforehand. And I split them games.
Nice.
That's just me being proud. He's definitely the better player or whatever. I just thought it was crazy because I split games with him, and then we went and we played Cuddle Core, and oh my God, she destroyed the out of me. That was one of the strongest whippings I've ever had. She had like my dash in down before I even dashed in.
Oof. Those are the rough ones because you're like, you're not even getting to a pressure or mix up stage. You're losing before you even get close.
Yeah,
Those are
she just
always
had that
upsets.
good a feel, I think, for like American Tekken and everything. And granted, since picking up Yoshi, my American Tekken is just lousy.
Hmm. But well, I mean, at least now you're not on Yoshi anymore, right? Are you? Because I
Uh,
assume that you're taking Reina into Evo, or is that not the case?
yeah, I probably will just because I have more fun trying to figure this character out than Yoshi just feels too strong now, and I get it. I mean, I probably weakening myself by not sticking with the character that I just put years into. Now that he's actually good, feel like I earned that. But it's like when I see all the Yoshi players now, a lot of the Yoshi players, and this is not an insult to them or anything. This is the fact that some tech is better than the random creative tech that you can throw out because it's built into his system, and they also like he still has some of those quirky tools, like his running three. It's really good, and I was really excited to use it. But then they made it like weirdly duckable in certain cases, and they keep expanding the hitbox, but apparently it's still duckable.
Hmm.
uh, it used to be like every time you like before the most recent patch, there's a very specific example is if you do a move that involves a heat dash where you have that plus 17, you're running at them and everything. You could do your running three right afterwards, and they can just duck it right there. And it threw me off. Like, this is the tool here that I really was looking forward to building a game around. And so now I'm just enjoying this puzzle with new Mishimas and trying to do it my way.
Hmm. Fair. So I guess that's a good segue then into Evo. So since Evo, both of the Evos are the only Master Plus events, everyone's going to be there. What are your expectations for have you? They don't. Man, we're still like 4 weeks away. They don't have the brackets up, right? I'm gonna take a look at this.
I don't have any expectations. I don't want to go 0-2, that's for sure. Um,
I'm sure you won't. I would expect that the entry, it's going to be very similar to Combo Breaker, where Tekken is the new hotness, right? I mean, the only other game that will probably give it a run in terms of entrance number is going to be Street Fighter, right? I know Guilty Gear Strive is still up there, like that's still a really popular game, but I don't think it's quite SF6 or Tekken. And the reason that I mention that is because when you have so many people entering this event, 90% of them are just going to be jobbers, right? And that's no disrespect. Like, these tournaments are really fun. They're, you should enter if you're going to be at them for whatever reason. If you're just doing the convention thing, and it's still fun to enter the tournaments, but that's why most of the people that enter them, right? So, if you're a dedicated player for one of these games and you're of tournament skill where you should be competing, or at least giving the best players in the world a run for their money, you're going to be above 90% of the people that are in there. So that's why I mentioned that, is because I highly doubt you will go 0-2. Because
well,
that's just not your
on
level. Like, you would have to get such a bad bracket draw in order for that to happen its chances are like zero that happens at a tournament like Evo.
I
So,
don't think that it would happen, but at the same time, like brand new game with and this is something that we've talked about in the other podcasts, but the strategy in this game is so different that many of the top players like Arslan and Nee are still trying to find out how to play Tekken 8 instead of playing Tekken 7 Season 6
mhm.
like many people want. And even after their little defensive update, it's still Tekken 8, which is great, but there's that possibility. And then there's also, playing this brand new character to me, and I haven't played Mishimas since T5DR, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because Devil Jin was just stupid broken. Um, and then there's also like I'm not like as focused on how well I do. This is my kid he's coming with, and he's going to enter the tournament, his first tournament, so I'm putting a lot on that and just trying to enjoy myself. And I have this low-key secret goal at Evo that I'm going to actually confront Harada,
Oh boy.
not in a bad way, of course, but I'm going to confront him and point out, hey, you know that shirt you always wear? I'm the reason you wear that shirt.
Oh yeah, why is that? I guess I don't know
Because
that
I'm the
story.
one that ruined the requests of the developers. If you don't remember this
Nope,
either,
I
this
don't.
is so Tekken 5 5.0 game was broken. Everybody knew it was broken. It was Steve, Nina, Brian, right? And then quietly Feng and Devil Jin were right below them. But they're really broken, and the whole community both enjoyed the game because it had crush system for the brand new very first game, which was absolutely terrific to have. But it was still an incredibly broken game. There was infinites. There was too many strong BS things like Brian's 1-2-1 on the wall gave a free snake edge. If you tech rolled, you got launched by that free snake edge. Those sorts of things. Anyways, I had reached out to, and I won't throw his name in here, but the guy who was Michael Murray before Michael Murray.
A
He's a
Namco
friend of all of ours.
representative.
Yes, a Namco representative. And we said, hey, we could probably work with a lot of the top players because, we are in those circles. We play with the top players, stuff like that. And we could come up with a list of changes that should be made. And that representative said, you know what? Do it. Create that list for us. So primarily, I worked on that list. It didn't take me long because I'm a super Tekken nerd and everything. I made a whole bunch of things, and then I asked these top players all for some help. Like what are some things about this character, or whatever that are probably a little bit too strong, right? And I got things like Nina's down forward one gave a free grab or a free forward 1-4. And then Feng's back one was just way too safe. I put in things like Steve's spin punch shouldn't stun anymore, or if it does stun, it should be punishable, like -10 or -12. Well, they removed the stun. All of the changes that we suggested, every single one of those changes that we suggested, went into 5.1 and then subsequently DR. Every single one of those changes went in. And do you know what happened? As soon as they went in, everybody complained about the fucking changes. Why was Bang's back one removed? Why was the back roll stun taken out? Why was Steve's spin punch? Why was this? Everybody complained about all of these things, even though they were universally agreed upon, even amongst the top players, for being too broken. And to this day, every one of those changes has stayed gone. I think actually there might be one. Nina's wipe the floor. I'm sorry. That is the one change that came back because wipe the floor in 5.0 was a counter hit launcher, and they just put it back in this game. Or did they do it in 7 also?
I don't remember.
Well, anyways, all those changes went in. So I would like to go talk to Harada. I still think that the development team, everybody on it, has everyone's best intentions in mind. I think they work really hard at meeting the demands of the public and also trying to create this well-balanced game. And even though not everything goes through the way it should be or is received the way that it should, I think they do work hard at it. So I wanted to reach out to them like, hey, I'm the one that talked to that Namco representative, and da 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 da, and I just think it would be fun to get a picture with him where maybe he's like pointing at me or something.
Well, good luck. I mean, we'll have to get an update on that. Because my guess is he'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
'Cause that's just
I
how it is.
guarantee you he knows exactly what list of changes. I have no doubt because he has that don't ask me for shit shirt
Right.
specifically, and even like when he first started doing it, because he would take requests from fans and everything, and ours were, like they came from famous players in America at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Insanely Chop,
Well, and
all of Texas.
this too, and we'll get back to this eventually, because I do want to talk about. We can talk specifics about patches and stuff too, but I do have to say that, especially with Tekken 8, there are just clearly some things that they should have known was not going to work, and then it also is just really funny to me how balance operates in the context of the fact that 99.999% of the people that play the game are not competitive with it. Like, they might be competitive in the sense that they want to win, but they aren't competitive in the sense that they are doing any research. They're not trying to get better. They're just playing, right? They're playing a casual experience. And yet, they'll still jump into ranked and stuff like that. And they think that they have a right to complain, which they do, because at the end of the day, the tournament people represent a very, very small fraction of the overall money revenue that the game makes. But that's a bigger topic. And I think it's interesting because it kind of rolls into your little story there. Like, even though it's a blast from the past, it's one of those things where the average person just doesn't know what's going to make the game balanced. And even if they address their feedback with that sort of context, like, oh, this move should do this or this move should do that, they have no idea what they're talking about. But they're still going to complain anyway. And which is really interesting to me because, yeah, that story kind of demonstrates that. Like, you make all the perfect balance changes to a game and people will still bitch about it because they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know how the game should operate, like how moves should operate in order for the game to be balanced. But we can swing back to that because I think that's kind of funny that you bring that up, because it was something that I was going to ask about or want to talk about when we get to the patch notes.
Yeah.
But before we get there, anything else about Evo? Well, I guess one thing that I want to ask, obviously this is a Tekken podcast, but I know that you're going there for longer than just the tournament, right? Like, what's the agenda and I assume you're not going to be at the tournament the entire time, even during the days where it's active. What are you planning?
Yeah,
on doing?
we're just gonna have a vacation. We need one.
You
It's
need
good
one?
for the family. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. So you're just going to kind of wing it when you get there, or do you have like certain things you want to do?
Yeah, we'll try to do a lot of the touristy stuff. Go check out the Lamborghinis and just we're gonna roam around, see if we can find some shows to watch.
Yes, I was going to say, you got to try to find some shows. That's the one thing of all the times I've been to Vegas, and it has been a handful of years since we've been back. But it's the one thing that I've always wanted to do that we just never found time to do, is to go see some shows. And like one that I fear is that I've always wanted to see, really, like, was number one on my list that I fear is just going to be gone by the time we get back there, is Penn and Teller. Like, I have a feeling that they're just going to be gone. It's like that their show will be over and they'll be retired. I mean, they're still going strong as far as I know. They still got their show at the Rio and everything, but I just feel like by the time that we get around to going back to Vegas, they'll be retired and we won't be able to see it.
Yeah, don't miss out on them like I did. Amazing Jonathan.
Amazing Jonathan.
I wanted to see him in person there too.
Oh,
but he died.
Oh, that's sad. I don't even recognize that name.
He's another comedian magician, maybe a little edgier than Penn and Teller.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think, what are the other like big shows there? I know you have the Knights, right, at Excalibur, but I feel like because we have oh my god, Medieval Times in our
Yep.
region. I feel like that's not as big a draw for Midwest crowds. I've never been like super. It's never been an urgency to see that particular show because like, well, I can just drive to Chicago and go to Medieval Times whenever I feel like.
Right.
So it's not like an urgency thing. Blue Man Group, right? That's another big one.
Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, the Cirque du Soleil. That's a big one. What else? What else do they have? And then they just have the rotating like musician circuit.
I think we haven't taken as much of a hard look at that yet as we need to, considering it's a month away.
Right. Fair enough. Well, not fair enough. You're only a month away. You should be scouting, be thinking ahead
We will.
about your trip, getting excited for it.
We are. I think we're worried about the heat too.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough here. I don't know how bad it's been up in Minnesota, but we've had consistent high 80s, low 90s with just butt wrecking humidity.
Yeah, that's us too.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I'm excited to show the family the difference in Vegas heat.
Oh yeah,
one of the things I
yeah,
always talk about is standing on the blacktop in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're on the blacktop in Vegas, it is like 20 degrees at least hotter than just standing in the sun normally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, like the difference, especially like just being in shade. Like if you're in the shade
Yep.
here, it's better, but you're still being strangled by the humidity. Like it doesn't let you go. It's like somebody just laughing at you. Like you really thought that walking 10 steps was going to get you away from me. Like it's awful. But and you particularly feel it in a place like Vegas at night, right? Because the sun's not out, but it's still 100 million degrees, and yet you're like,
Yeah.
wow, this is so much better. This is so much better than it
Somebody
was.
turned the sauna off,
Yeah, pretty much. Oh,
but it's still.
that's funny. I've always I really do want to see some shows in Vegas at some point, but I've always been in that group that when I go, I really do enjoy the gambling. Like I really do like just sitting there for hours on end and doing whatever random games are around, whether it's slot machine, blackjack. I know Spam kind of got me onto the Pai Gow route. But just sitting there for hours and getting your free drinks and just getting buzzed and playing games. And if you
I hear they
find,
cracked down on that a little bit, though. It's not like
do
it
they?
was. Yeah,
That's weird.
that's
I
what
would
I'm.
think that would still be the thing. Well, even so, even if they're not doing like the free drinks anymore, like just finding, because it's a open container area, right? So you just get your drinks and you can always just walk around. But just the idea of just constantly having a drink in your hand and being able to walk wherever, and it's like, ooh, this fun Batman slot machine is gonna be cool for the 30 minutes it takes me to drink this beer, that kind of thing.
This is my new home.
Yeah, this is my new home for a little bit, but and then it's also really fun too. Is it's very much just like a pedestrian utopia, right? Because you're just loitering. That's all you're doing. You're loitering from one spot to the next, but in between those spots are a bunch of different, various gambling games that you can play, as well as different drink and food spots. I definitely eat way too much when I go to Vegas. Because those things, and those places are not cheap either. I'm sure they're way worse now than the last time I went. But yeah, so it's a fun, if you have like the money saved up to do it, it's a fun place. I just haven't. We've had other stuff going on in our lives that I haven't really had the need to go for the last 2 years. So, but fun. Okay. Are there any other events coming up that we, like, I should say, even have enough knowledge about to chat about? Because I know, like I said, next weekend is CEO, but I don't really have anything to say about CEO that I wouldn't say about Evo.
I think that I think I was watching some of these videos, and I know that at least Moonsault's there, but someone else also predicted that, what is it, right after CEO is when they expect Lydia to drop. So we
Which
do
would be
expect her
the
any time now.
yeah, they probably should get on that. What is the actual date for Evo? The 19th. So that would give people what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
3 weeks roughly. Oh no, I guess if they drop it right after next weekend, it would be 2 weeks ish, something like that. Yeah, 2 3.
Still not a lot
Let's
of
just call
time.
it 3 weeks. So 3 weeks before it hits Evo. Man, I just had the schedule up too, and I'm gonna have to pull it up again because I think that's it in terms of really big tournaments. We have CEO next week, then unless I was just not paying attention, which is possible. I think that was it. Yeah, CEO. Oh, I guess the weekend right before Evo is the mix-up, which I believe is a European tournament. Let me see here. France, yes, French tournament. So that happens the weekend before Evo.
Le Mix du Nord.
Le Mix. Yeah, and then there's only one challenger event, which is that same weekend. So, or that same week, whatever you want to, however you want to call it. So that would be a good time because if you drop it right after CEO, there's nothing until the mix up. And even if something weird happened at the mix up, you'd still have a week to figure it out before Evo. So that would give them, yeah, a little cushion before the next really, really, really big tournament. So that makes sense. That makes sense
That's
because
the
you,
real thing. They need a cushion in case they need to suddenly nerf everything.
yep. Or there's some game breaking glitch that her introduction, brings
Yep.
about. So, because that happens. But yeah, you do, especially characters in particular, right? Like patches can mess things up too. Depends on how big the patch is, but a brand new character for sure. Um, yeah, you would definitely want to time the release of that. So that does make sense. That does make sense that they would drop it right at CEO. Do we know if like Harada or Murray or anybody's going to be at CEO?
No way. I don't think we do.
Okay.
I don't
Cause
even think that I would expect them there.
I mean CEO is pretty big, but because if they were, then I would for sure like that would be the big indicator, right? That they're going to do some sort of announcement
Oh,
on
it's for
finals
sure
day.
big. I figure they're probably saving their travel time for Evo.
Oh, see, I figure they're always on travel time. That's just what they're doing these days. Um, but I don't know. Maybe they have some hands-on stuff with the game. I figure they're just the PR guys at this point. They're at that level, right, where they make decisions and the responsibility ultimately falls on them, but they're not actually doing the
Yeah, they're
day
not doing the work.
to day work on it. Cool. So yes, that's all that we got. Then we have CEO next weekend, then a little bit of a break, and then Evo. So we'll have to see. And I guess this is a good time then, or a good segue to jump into the patch stuff, because I believe, if I remember correctly, that 1.05, which is the patch that just dropped not that long ago, is going to be the last major patch. They said until, did they say until finals? They said for a while.
Yeah,
So I
everything else will just be bug fixes now.
Yeah. So basically until but I'm trying to remember. I feel like, or I thought that they had mentioned a particular time frame, like until the
Yeah,
end of the
for this
year or
season.
something for the season. Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's what they said. Yep, that is what I am remembering. So yes, this is the last big patch, like balance patch that we'll get the rest of the season. Which I don't know how I feel about that. I guess in terms of big changes, but I mean, I would certainly hope that they don't make that they keep it to zero balance fixes. That seems like that's probably a bad idea. Unless they're just not going to count new characters towards that. Like if a new character's moves are too powerful or something, they'll call that a quote unquote bug, and then they'll fix it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll still fix whatever those characters have for sure.
Yeah, interesting. So, all right, well then I guess let's talk about that. So I don't even know. Do we even want to go back to 1.04? Because I don't think we've really talked about last time. But with 1.05, we can probably kind of skip it.
Well, a lot of the changes, they go together anyway. So if we work through 1.05, I mean, like we can mention, like there were some characters that were changed then, and then they even made note that they weren't going to be changing them in the next patch. So they're all together.
Right. So I don't think that we need to go through, line by line or anything. I think there's some highlights that that we can discuss that will sort of give us the information or the bullet points that are most important for this particular patch, because the one that jumps out immediately is the fact that they actually changed some system stuff, right? Because you actually alluded to this earlier, is that they are changing the game a bit, like the actual mechanics of the game to fit a more defensive style. So the big one, unless I'm forgetting anything, is how they changed the bursts, right? So bursts were kind of like previous to this, they were a free entry into heat, right? Like you could just hit it, they would do it, they'd track like crazy. A regular power crush wouldn't beat it. You'd have to do a super. They couldn't be reversed. I don't even think the special reversals, right? Like Leroy's and stuff, that didn't work. Those would not work against them. They toned down. I know they toned down on block the advantage, and the pushback, right? So they don't do pushback anymore. I think on hit is the same way, right? I think that they lowered the amount of advantage even when they hit, but I could be misremembering that.
It's just like 1 frame reduction.
Yeah, but so yeah, they toned down burst a lot because they don't want people to keep doing that. And it's interesting to me because I feel like some of the change to the universal burst makes sense. So for example, not having it be basically a homing move, that makes sense to me. And I do think it makes sense to that like a power crush and armor move would beat it. Things like that. But I feel like the whole point of the burst was to give you that free entry. Like you, as a developer, you want people using that mechanic. And the burst is the easiest way to get there. So if you overdo it on the amount of ways to beat it, then I feel like it can get rough. I think it's okay based on, the limited amount of matches I've had since. It doesn't feel like the nerfs are too oppressive. I think the one that I would like back is probably the pushback on block. I thought that kind of fit what the burst was and what it was trying to do. I guess I just fear that they'll keep doing it because it does still feel like it's pretty good. And I don't know, there's kind of this knee-jerk reaction to the idea that it should be sort of a free entry. I think what they could have done, or what they could do to make it better, and this obviously is just my opinion, is make the entry, make a better or easier way to get into heat without having to do either one of those things. So like if you have the heat burst, which you can cancel, so you don't have to do the attack. If there was something where you could do that attackless, I don't know how you want to phrase it, but just like activate it, just like start it up, and just have it be like a quick thing, maybe like as fast as a jab or whatever, or like if you're gonna do that burst cancel, maybe not have it so punishable, like just give people the option to get into it real quick. I would like to see something like that, because I do think that there should be something where you don't have to do an attack to get into heat or to start your meter, but at the same time isn't crazy punishable, like canceling the heat burst can be.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Anyway, just my thoughts. Did you have anything
Next
to
biggest
add
would
to
be
that or any other mechanic stuff?
the next biggest would just be, as far as related to that, now you can break some power crushes a little bit easier,
Mm-hmm.
but also grabs not tracking if they're command throws anymore. So now only your generics will be tracking, which still keeps that in there because they clearly built the whole game around, grabs tracking to help solve power crush and something.
Mm-hmm. I like
Um,
that they've given that as well as a number of other things very clearer animations to show
mhm,
that that's what they are. So like the grabs that track actually have the homing, not only the homing indicator in the move list, but they have that I don't know what do you want to call it, like the little
the trails.
yeah, the trails that pop up. Like that's really good. And as you mentioned, they added the I can't remember what they call it or what they called it in the notes, but like the armor break or whatever they call it, that's now a signifier. Like they added a symbol for that into the move list so that you can tell. I am a huge fan of that stuff. I know you're probably on the opposite end of the spectrum for this, but I hate like secret ninja mechanics and stuff that you just kind of have to figure out on your own. Like the game doesn't tell you what it's doing. I hate that kind of stuff. Sort of like when Tekken 8 first popped up. I think you were one of the first people that I remember recognizing the special tailspin that can happen in the
Yeah,
combos, which they started referencing it in the patch notes as like a I can't remember what they call it, like a strong
strong
aerial,
aerial.
yeah, something or other. Uh, like that was, I mean, there's no indication. There still isn't any indication of what moves will do that in the move list in the game, but they at least started to acknowledge that that's a thing in the patch notes. And yeah, so anytime that they do that, where they're filling in more information gaps so you understand what the game is doing and what they are intending for the game to do, is always a plus in my book. But yeah,
Good.
grabs.
I mean,
Sorry, keep going.
it'll make it more accessible. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. No, I agree. I think that people get better at the game when they know what the game is doing, like what the game is trying to do. Yeah, and I remember that was a big fight when Tekken 7. Right, I'm trying to remember exactly when it started because I remember Harada being really, really curmudgeonly about potentially adding the frame feature
Oh my God.
into the game. I'm trying to remember who did it. It might have been Mortal Kombat that did it. And then other games started to do it as well. And there was still this pushback with the Tekken team about putting that feature in there, about showing the frames. And it was like, guys,
Yeah.
you already have one of the worst tutorials amongst fighting games. Um, like you got to start adding this stuff in there so people know how to play your game. But
The
yeah,
Yep, the easier it is to get to those higher levels, the more you'll have people trying.
yeah, yep.
Now, I was
Anyway,
just sitting here
I
looking
took
for
us
that.
I took us on a tangent. But
No, it's
continue
fine.
wherever you were going.
I was looking for because you mentioned that it mentions the guard break. Now, I thought there would be a symbol, but uh, I went to Steve's Lionheart 1+2, and it's just like text. So now I have to like double check all my moves to see does it say it in there?
I thought they added a symbol too, so it's just text.
Yeah, it's just text
Hmm.
in there that I see.
I thought there was this little red symbol that they added. I'll have to go through it later because I could have swore that I saw a new symbol for something. I thought it was the reversal break or the reversal break or whatever the hell.
Hmm.
Going through the patch notes here, seeing if there's any.
You may have my kid on your podcast now.
Yeah, we hear him a little bit. That's okay. It's all right. We got
Let you know.
background noise. Um, Oh, one thing as I go through the patch list that uh, is probably something that's important to mention is that they, along with all of those, that defensive perspective or defensive approach that they're taking with all these changes, is that they scaled down the damage on a lot of stuff. So like anywhere from 25 to 50% damage reduction on a lot of things. So like things that are universal, so like wall breaks, things like that. But also just scaling changes for stuff like that.
And that's frustrating to me too because they increased the scaling on a lot of things, but because the Brian players complained about the scaling on Taunt Jet Upper, they put it back.
Yeah, I saw that. That's funny.
Like, okay, so this isn't going to be a universal thing. You're really going to have this just for them. Got it.
Which is
part
funny
frustrated
because
me.
like there aren't a lot of like, who are they listening to that's a Brian player? Nee? Was he that mad about it? Like, I didn't feel like he bitched about it a whole lot.
He didn't complain about it a lot. He did mention it in his whole like list when he first came out. But no, the Brian players in general, I mean, they might as well be just as bad as the Kazuya players. They think that, oh, this one thing that we have is hard, so everything else should be, you know, overpowered to accommodate for that hardness.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, going through the general changes, I think we hit the big ones. So the burst, obviously, the reversal break, that's a big one, and then just a variety of fixes to stage interactables, basically. Um, I guess they also did change some stuff with.
And here's the thing that I have about that too. And
Yeah,
I know that you saw it because I posted it in our little chat.
sure.
But people were complaining because the stage effects did too much damage. And now people are complaining that the stage effects do less damage than even just like a normal wall combo. They were citing the three wall break stage with the dojo or whatever as an example. Like they did a regular wall combo against a hard wall and it was like 80 damage. They did three wall breaks using a lot of the same hits and everything and it was 50 damage. And it's like you just cannot make people happy.
Mm-hmm. Nope, it'll never happen. And truthfully, I think what they should be doing, I'm sure that they listen, no doubt, to specific changes. And my hope would be that the only people they're listening to in terms of specific changes are high level players, and that when they're making these changes, they are instead looking at matchup win rates. Because that's going to be, I think, for most players, the big thing. But like you said, they, even no matter what they change, they're still going to have to just ignore the clutter, especially Twitter. I mean, Twitter seems to be, for whatever reason, the main way that people communicate that kind of stuff. And but Twitter
That's
also
on
has,
Namco actually.
yeah, but Twitter also has like the worst people on it. So that's one of those things where, like, yeah, it's great to have engagement and everything, but you probably should just ignore any random person that's actually giving you a specific change suggestion or whatever. Yeah, or whatever you want to call it. Because like you mentioned, like the Kazuya crowd and everything like that. My hope, and this probably isn't the case, but who knows, is that when they're making all these Kazuya changes, that they're I would hope that they're actually looking at real data and like the win rates that are happening at all the various skill, and that the actual changes that they're deciding to make are based off of people who actually know how to play the game. So I would certainly, hope, being a Mishima player, that Mishima Star, would understand how some of these things work. But that's how I would expect. Like, I haven't seen any really flagrant I don't know. I know people like to complain about specific moves and stuff, but the only moves thus far, or the only move thus far that I've seen where it's like, okay, this is going to get changed. This is obviously going to get changed because it's very clearly a problem, is Azu's running 3-2. Every other move, like no matter how annoying they are, and you're like, why is this move like this? I still feel like they're doing okay with it. So like a perfect example would be King's forward neutral 2. That move is a problem. I don't know why that move is as strong as it is, and it really shouldn't be. And I think, and they did change it. What they reduced the damage a little bit. What else did they do? The frame advantage on
double
it.
collision.
Yeah, the double collision.
Stuff.
Yeah, they changed how that works. So they did kind of bring it back from the clouds a little bit. But at the same time, I would certainly hope that prior to that, that they're looking at matchup win rates and seeing, okay, this is a little skewed. Why is it skewed? And then looking at that, especially with the robust replay system that they have in the game now, it should be so easy to go back and
that's probably why they have it there.
Yeah, it just go through and look at take a sample of these matches just from random players, and like, okay, well, this is in our data for the win rate, so why are these people losing so badly? And then just kind of identify stuff from there. That's how I would expect, because, and the reason that I bring this up, because anybody listening to that kind of suggestion is going to be like, wow, that's probably going to be a lot of work. And you're right. That is going to be a lot of work to not only collect all your matchup data, but go through and look at the matchups that are not doing so well, and then go through and look at replays to try to identify problem stuff.
What they have to do is realize that if it's a lot of extra work, it's got to be less work than taking a complaint like, I'm Jin and I don't have a move that hits Ling out of AOP, and then they put a move like expand the hitbox, and then a week later, AOP is useless. It doesn't go under anything of Jin's. You know, you're gonna have to use better judgment with that, because no matter what, if you make one character's thing situationally better, the character that it affects is going to start complaining.
Right. And that's a good point as well. Where I was going to go with it is that they're already spending a lot of time with these patches, right? It's probably the main reason that they're like, we're not doing any more patches, because this is eating up tons of man hours for our team to do this. Because like this, all of these changes in 1.05, I mean, this is a lot. How many pages is this thing? This thing is like,
it was a lot.
It's 8 pages, but like these are long pages. These are not like normal what's the term, letter size pages. These are and
it doesn't even really affect all of the characters. It's all the ones that weren't affected by 1.04. So that's a lot of changes for just part of the cast.
Right, exactly. So, and that's kind of that's the point that I was driving at, is that if you're going to take the time to do these balance changes, I would certainly hope that they're not feeling pressured or whatever by, just a bunch of people complaining on Twitter. I would certainly hope that they're using some other process to guide them on these changes. And I would expect that certain players like an Arslan or Knee or whoever is probably going to have some impact on changes here or there, but like the overall balance of the game is not going to be broken by one player's feedback like that. Like there's just no way that even an Arslan or a Knee or whoever, that they could give Namco a wish list and Namco implement it, and then the game is completely broken. Like that's something like that is just not going to happen. Like you might see some changes here or there. Like, we talked a little bit about Brian, but I'm not even entirely sure that somebody like Knee would have been the impetus for his changes, or that the feedback would have come back from him. Like you said, that scaling change, I don't feel like that was a high level complaint. I don't think that high level Brians were complaining about that specifically. So that's something that they probably did get from the crowd, which, yeah, is not great. I really hope that we're not going that direction. Um,
It's
but
frustrating.
yeah, but that's like a lot of abstract general comments on that. I don't really have anything too specific to mention with these patch notes, so I'm going to throw it over to you in a second. The only thing I will say is that the two things that jumped out to me amongst all of these changes to the characters is that one, they must really, really like where Reina is, because I think she's the only character that's basically been untouched since release. Like they have
They
really,
did change something about her.
well, she's gotten some changes, but nothing that from day
Oh
one
yeah,
has really would change the way that you play. Like even the changes or nerfs to I, what you would
the
probably
crushing
call,
ability.
yeah, is her that specifically on forward 4-2, right? But even then, like forward 4-2 is still a great move. Like it only hurts specific players that use the move in a specific kind of way. Um, Overall, it doesn't really hurt how she plays at all. So but I think she's the only one. I cannot think of a character that has gotten less changes from release than she has. Can you?
Probably, yeah, she probably does have the least amount. The biggest change I think to her is the crushing ability on her. Like, uh, was it the Unsoko 4 and
Oh,
um,
all those
full crouch?
crouch kicks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
full crouch down forward 4, because those were abused, and I know full crouch down forward 4. Some people thought was going under mids and everything. So
yeah. And I was talking to one of our buddies in our chat. Um, I actually think that the nerf to specifically full crouch down forward 4 for her is an interesting one, because previously I could not think of a reason to use full crouch down forward 3 over full crouch down forward 4. And I think now that you have a reason, because it is fully crouched, like she goes down to the floor with
right.
that move. It's riskier, but it gives you a reason to use it. So I thought that was neat.
Yeah, I'm fine with that change for sure. I do think that if you're going to make full crouch down forward 4 not a crush move, then it probably shouldn't be minus 14. That's
Right.
my
Yeah,
initial reaction.
you're right.
But
I think it's still okay
she's
though.
strong enough in other ways that it
Yeah,
doesn't matter a lot.
yeah. And you're still, and if you're gonna do it, you're still doing it from a crouch, right? So, you'll still have those opportunities to go under moves and punish them. But the other thing that I was gonna mention too is that um, Paul is out here eating lobster. I don't understand why
That's the biggest.
they buffed this character so much. Like, I guess just nobody at high level feels like playing him, and so Namco's like, oh well, he must suck. So here's a bunch of buffs for no reason.
Yeah,
That's the
we had
only
him
other.
already like doing some of the best damage in the game as far as my testing, and then they made these changes, and Paul is borderline broken now.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get that at all. Like they're just like, well, yeah, we're not seeing him in any top 16 or top 32s, so there clearly must be something wrong. So let's just like throw some darts at his move list and we'll just start buffing stuff. And it was just really weird that they went about that. But so it'll be interesting to see if any new Paul players pop up between now and let's say Evo. Just because I don't know how you look at all these changes and on top of everything he was already doing and not think that this is one of the best characters in the game now. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. He is way strong.
But
Now
that's
he has
it.
that charge up hammer of the god.
Yeah.
Just chip.
And but that was it. Those are the only two things that really jumped out to me in general were those two characters. But I'm interested in what has caught your eye.
I don't see a lot of like I do think a lot of it is quality of life stuff, and I think that they did the bare minimum on making people happy with the defensive thing without ruining the system. But I do think if they continue like if people continue pushing at him, I mean, they're going to ruin this game to where it's not playable. I think that Tekken 8 itself, all by like how it was even, is an amazing, great game. I know that some people feel like Casino, just take some guesses, but I think that's kind of what they're trying to go for a little bit. Because before you could, like, if you were playing someone with Arslan or knee level skill and reflexes, I mean, it's like impossible to get in, and it's got to be a little bit boring to a casual player that doesn't understand why it's so difficult to just get around some of this defense. And fuzzy guarding, I mean, it's long been overpowered in Tekken. There's no question. Fuzzy guarding, it was way too much, but they feel, or these players feel, that fuzzy guarding is what separates good players from bad players. There's an element of truth to that, but we've also been doing this exact way for 30 years, and it's good that they're finding a way to mix it up and seeing what new skills emerge, because there are new skills emerging. I just, yeah, I hope they don't keep ruining it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the step back that they've made from that really really heavy offense is fine for now, but like you said, I think it's important that they, hopefully they stick to what they said, and that we're not really going to get any more balance changes, especially to system stuff. That it was, I will say that it was a little surprising that they decided to change or nerf the stuff like burst, because I figured that at least for the remainder of this first season they would just let it play out and just let the mechanics as they built it, like the fundamental mechanics, not character balance, but just the new stuff that they made for Tekken 8, that they would just let that ride for the first season and just see how it fell. And that is one thing that I think, like you said, is that's probably being driven by the guys like Arslan, like Nee, who are having problems, as you would expect, playing an old style in a new style game. Um, and I like it too. I think it was weird because when the game first, like when we first started getting glimpses of Tekken 8, and even during the CNT and all that stuff, there were big question marks about, like, is this just going to be buttons the game? Like, is that all we're going to see? There's going to be no defensive elements or anything like that. And I don't think that that's what has happened. I think that the game is definitely heavy on offense. But I don't think that that was necessarily a bad thing. The only thing that I wish that they or wanted them to do, which they actually have done in this patch, is just scale back the damage a little bit. It's fine for you to run your offense. What's probably not okay is that if you're going to have offense this strong, that just one guess will kill you. Like that's not okay. But I think it is okay to have people swinging back at each other if you can also take a billion hits. If both of you can take a billion hits, but you can also both start your offense whenever you need to, that's fun. I mean, Marvel is the most busted offensive game in the world, and people love that shit. So, like, yeah, well, I don't, but yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. My stance on it is, right, so these players are having a hard time. Arslan, are they having a hard time winning? No, I mean, they're getting like top 8s and everything. They're doing fine in these tournaments. Mm-hmm. And it's not like they're losing to Joe Schmo random player 52 because he happened to guess, 2 coin flips. They're still winning against those kinds of players. They're not losing to outright worse players. The people that are winning are like Mulgold. Mulgold is a famously good Claudio. Mm-hmm. It's just that the game has changed a little bit, and they're not like dropping all the way down to outside the top 100 or anything. The game is still having the same committed players winning, dedicated even to their character is what it's looking like. The people that are committed to learning, to do some of the harder stuff or whatever for that specific character over, someone who's going to play a general style and just fuzzy guard their way to the end. So I think that there is way too much complaining going on. Yeah. The game is great.
Yeah, I agree. I think like it's perfectly okay and expected for people to complain about specific things like very, very specific moves, because just everybody has blind spots here or there, right? Where there's just things that you struggle to deal with. Um, but overall, yeah, I would hope that they would temper or at least limit the extent of what they're trying to change, which, like you said, and I said it as well. I echoed your sentiment, but I hope that this is kind of it, that this is as far back as they sort of, that they pull
Yeah,
that
bring it.
off offensive. Yeah, like I think this is okay. Like some of the stuff I would have preferred to see as it was before, but it's okay that they scaled it back a little bit. Just let's not do any more of that. um,
Right.
and and you could tweak balance or whatever, but especially for this first season, I think with a brand new game, the expectation should always be that things are going to be weird. They're going to be wild. Everyone's still getting used to how things operate. Um, and particularly, we're not even into the second DLC of the game. So it's like just chill, and we don't need to be making these massive changes to the system right, yeah, at this moment. Like I think it's
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, I think that's you and I are on the same page, and then hopefully they will stick to their word and keep everything limited now for the rest of the season, and we'll just kind of see how things go. And very soon here, presumably, we should have Lydia, so we'll have a lot more to talk about and look at when she drops. Um, that was kind of all I had for the patch stuff. Did you have any last words on it, or anything else that maybe
Don't.
even more generally, even something about the game that you've noticed that we haven't talked about?
No, I mean what we said there, that's pretty much my big thing is I just think some people are really whining, and I don't mean to be too negative about that because I really do think that this is a great game. I think it's a lot of fun and everything, and I think that some people are just feeding into it. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they see that they can win, like get the things that they want by complaining, I mean, they're going to keep doing it, and then we're going to lose the game.
Right. I think the good
But
news,
that's it.
yeah, I think the good news there, and I'm sure that we will see it once Evo entrants are finalized, is that it's still really popular, right? So if they can just if the Namco team can have some self control and just chill on what we have right now, I don't think that they will see that entrance number go down. I think that they will find that the game is still popular and still lots of people are playing it. Um, the only thing I think they have to worry about is actually not even a balance thing. I think they never should have done the customization stuff and the microtransactions. I actually should pull that up on Steam because they got review bombed after they
Yeah, they did.
opened that shop. I'm gonna see if it's still it
Yeah, it's
should
still
be
really
mixed, if because I don't think I think it went a little negative for a minute there. If it'll load, but that was a
I do have one
while.
prediction for Evo that I think is going to happen.
That's at mixed.
I
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
I think that with the way things have been revealed over and over and over again, like details before they get officially revealed, maybe due to data mining or whatever, um, people feel relatively confident about the characters that are in season one, like so the two remaining characters for season one. Um, I think that I predict that at Evo they're actually going to reveal like a Soul Calibur character. Um, Try to spice it up, delay it, because I know that some people have made comments that if those are the characters, they're really sad or frustrated, and I feel like at a certain point Namco is like, okay, we need to get that extra character that wasn't in Tekken 7 at all. We need to spice this up, throw them all off, something like that. So I feel like that's what I half expect.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm a little surprised about that as well. So I guess spoiler alert. So cover your ears if you guys don't want to hear this. But so the prevailing theory, based on some data miners like you mentioned, who have been accurate in the past, Not just with Tekken 7, but like leading up to Tekken 8's release and everything. I know we had that one big release where somebody actually got a picture of a private viewing, but the data miner, I guess in particular, that has kind of been really on it with both Tekken 7 and Tekken 8, predicted Eddie and Lydia, and obviously we know they're in the game. And then the other two are going to be Fakamram and Marduk. And I am a little surprised that, I'm not surprised with those characters making a return, but I am surprised, like you said, Dan, that especially in the first season, that we wouldn't get a guest character. That's very weird to me. Because I feel like the guest characters were really successful in Tekken 7, and it surprises me a little bit that we wouldn't get. Well, I actually feel like we probably will get them at some point in Tekken 8, but I'm surprised that we haven't gotten them yet. Because I mean, in Tekken 7, Akuma was right out of the gate. Like even before the game released, we knew that he was going to be in the game. So they started off with the release of the game with a with a guest character, and I'm trying to remember, was Noctis season 1?
Yeah,
he was season 1. So we got 2 guest characters in the first season of that game.
It was the last one of season 1, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, so with the first season of Tekken 7, we got 2 guest characters, and then based on what people are expecting with the release information, we get
3, because you have to count Geese also.
Was he in season 1?
Yeah, he was the very first hyped up one from Evo or whatever.
Oh, it's been a long time. I didn't even remember that.
People lost their minds. Maybe it wasn't even Evo, but people lost their minds over that release.
Yeah. So, I mean, either way, that's a really big 180, right? You go from 3 guest characters from the first season of Tekken 7 to 0. That's just weird. It's really weird to me. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll have to see if that data miner's right. Because my guess, I would assume that we would at least get the character trailer for number 3 at Evo. So we'll just have to wait until then to see what they tell us. But I agree. I think guest characters are great. I think they've been a great addition to Tekken, and I would be very sad if the longer we go without guest characters is going to be sad. More sad. So all right, well, I think we've been chatting for a while, so I think we can get close to wrapping up here. Did you have any Tekken related stuff that you wanted to drop before we call it a day?
I don't. I'm good. Thanks for chatting with me, having me on.
No, thank you. It gives me like I've said this before, but the podcasts are really nice for me to just put up some easy content, right? Just because it's only an hour and a half, 2 hours of us just chatting, and the editing for it is really simple. It's really straightforward. I don't have to spend a lot of time on it, so that's always nice. With that being said, I forgot to do this at the beginning of the episode, but I will remind everybody that I put these up on YouTube, of course, but I will also put this up on Spotify. So if that's your thing, go ahead and do that. Patreon, and YouTube super chats, all that stuff, greatly appreciated. Obviously, with the content kind of falling back a little bit, I don't fault anybody for not doing that, or even for current patrons to unsubscribe or whatever you want to call it. I don't blame anybody for that. Obviously, when you do stuff like that, you or contribute to a content creator like that, you kind of expect to be getting content, and I haven't been able to do that lately. So, but they are there for anybody who would like to contribute. Otherwise, I feel like there was something else I was going to mention, and I'm totally blanking out on it. I guess just keep an eye on the channel. If nothing else, we will for sure, once Dan comes back from Evo, we'll do an episode then to get his thoughts and experience at Evo and talk about Evo. I'll circle my calendar to bug him a lot when he comes back so that we can get that scheduled and recorded, because I'll be anxious to hear his experience and thoughts of everything that happened then. Also, let's see, I guess just watch the channel. I mean, like I said, I am going to try to get some stuff up. If it's, my expectation is that's light. and that I won't get a ton of videos up because of everything that's going on. But that doesn't mean that I'm not trying or that I won't have anything in the future. So definitely keep watching for that. But otherwise, I think that's it. I'm always going to have this issue where like an hour after we end it, I'm gonna be like, damn, I meant to mention XYZ and totally forgot. But that's okay. We got enough good talking in there. So Dan, any final words?
No final words. Thanks for having me.
Yes, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Stick around. We're not going anywhere. You could have caught, if you were fans of the channel, you could have caught me at Combo Breaker just last month. And, you can try to track down Dan at Evo if you want to. We exist. We're real people. We're out there, and you can, you can find us. But otherwise, keep playing the game, guys. It's a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun with it, no matter what kind of negative stuff we might say here and there. So keep playing.
I love it.
Yeah, it's tons of fun, and we're going to keep playing for a long while here. So yeah, best of luck to all of you, and yeah, have a good one.